Hey, Ev.
What's going on, Q?
Just hanging out.
What are we hanging out for? What are we doing?
Doing the ICO Alert Roundtable.
It's that time of the week again?
That time of the week.
Man, the weeks fly by.
They are when you're having fun with you.
So it wouldn't be a roundtable if it was just you and me. It'd be like a
line table?
A line table, yeah. But I guess we got to bring someone else on for a roundtable, right?
Yep, we have two of our lovely interns in today.
Two of the ICO Alert interns. Why don't you boys introduce yourselves one at a time?
All right. Hi, I'm Connor, data analyst intern at ICO Alert. Student at Pitt.
And I'm Drew Tomich. I'm happy to be here and get the Stellar podcast started. My first one, so happy to be here.
Nice.
The boys.
I can tell these guys are nervous.
Shaking, my heart's beating fast.
First podcast ever for both of you?
Yep.
Oh, man.
First podcast ever.
Nice. Well, the good thing is it's not live, so if you say anything stupid, we'll just make sure we'll isolate it and turn the volume up on it so that when it plays, everybody knows.
I think Drew's going to need that.
Yeah, definitely.
So first of all, tell me about your shirt today, Connor. What are you wearing there?
Oh, I'm wearing a Ron Paul Libertarian for President 1988 shirt.
Are you a big libertarian?
Yeah. I'd say, the Libertarian Party these days isn't like that,
Serious?
Yeah, half the libertarians, they're you ask them why are you libertarian? They're well, because I want pot to be illegal, man. That's basically it.
So they're liberals, actually.
Yeah,
They're just not as crazy.
But back at Ron Paul, he was the real, real deal end the Fed type
Right.
stuff.
And Ron Paul's actually a big Bitcoin advocate.
He is, yeah.
Yeah.
He spoke at a few Bitcoin conferences, I think.
Right.
How old is that guy?
He's in his 80s at least.
Sheesh.
Yeah,
He's going strong.
his run is up.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
dark.
Well, and then you had Rand Paul, his son, who's still going strong, but not
Right.
quite as libertarian. More of a neocon, right?
He's the better one. I'd say he's the best Republican of the bunch.
All right. Well,
So what do you guys think of your time at ICO Alert so far?
I don't know. It's been fun. Very interesting. I like the startup culture. I think there's a lot of good things going on in the office. Pretty laid back. We get a lot of work done, so it's fun.
I think Drew's told me many times that I'm screwed for any other internships I have because this is my first one, and it's pretty.
Yeah,
I can wear a Ron Paul shirt to work, so.
Yeah, you're going to have trouble finding that anywhere else.
Nice. I wasn't really welcome to the fridge at my last internship. I kind of got kicked out of the fridge, but this office is pretty lenient with the fridge.
wait, you got kicked out of the fridge at your last internship?
I don't know. I just kind of I thought it was I kind of helped myself, and they didn't really like that.
So you were eating your coworker's lunch.
Not really my coworker. It was kind of my manager, but I didn't really know.
Well, what was it? Was it worth it?
I would just kind of take things here and there, but yeah, can't remember. It might have been cake or something. But,
Birthday cake?
just Gatorades and stuff. Stuff that'll just piss him off.
It was his wedding anniversary cake, and you just went in there and snatched it like a savage.
I hope it was his wedding anniversary cake.
So anyway, you guys, before you came to ICO Alert, were you guys into crypto at all, or was this kind of your first exposure to the crypto space or the Bitcoin, phenomenon?
I'd say I was a lot more into, stocks. I was really interested in stocks, and then my buddy hit me up one day when the market was up, obviously, and was yo, I made all this money. Then I was like, dude, Bitcoin's a scam, whatever. I'm not into it. Then I started looking. Then he sent me a screenshot of his portfolio, and I was like, holy crap! And I started getting really into it, obviously, just from the investing sort of side, but.
Yeah, I don't know. I've sort of been into it for a while. 2013 or something. I was middle school or freshman year of high school. I was mining.
Jesus.
With these little because it was right around the time where Dogecoin came out.
And make it a whole podcast without talking about Doge.
Yeah, but I learned about it because I was into conspiracy theories and stuff, and how the world's gonna end, and you gotta buy all the gold, and then somehow from there I went into cryptocurrency.
Jeez,
and
that's a jump.
Yeah,
from the world ending to Dogecoin.
Yeah,
So
basically.
everybody knows Connor is he's going to be a sophomore. Everybody else, all the other interns are going to be seniors. So very intelligent kid we got right next to us today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw the internship. I thought it was for some bank just named ICO or something, but when I actually looked into the details of it, I was really surprised because I thought it was perfect for me basically.
Nice.
Yeah, well, we're glad to have you guys here, man. You guys have been doing a good job.
Thanks, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
Thanks, Q. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
So we're going to get into some news on the recent developments. In
Yeah,
the crypto
absolutely. I think
space.
just yesterday, IBM they're planning to launch a price stable cryptocurrency, and it's going to be insured by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, which is probably the biggest news that we've had in quite some time. So the way that I see it is it's basically Tether, but better. They're going to have legitimate audits. When they say that they have the cash, then they have the cash,
Right.
in their inventory.
The federal government has decided to insure that cash
Exactly.
so that they're counting it if they're insuring it because it's the federal government. And
Yeah, absolutely. Whereas
Connor,
with
you look
Tether,
like you have something to say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like the federal government, they're always real, like they're real responsible with their cash. Like 21 trillion in debt. But
Right.
sounds like a libertarian over here.
Yeah.
And I'm on the same page as Connor. That's one thing that a lot of people who are advocates of crypto and Bitcoin, which has, Bitcoin doesn't inflate or deflate, although some of it gets lost, so it actually does deflate a bit. But people always complain about fiat saying, oh, it's inflation, it's inflation. It's like, not only are they inflating it with the amount that they print whenever they want, but you have to see that they're just creating a currency and then lending it out, or actually being lent the currency. So they're in debt for more of their own currency than they created than anyone else.
Yeah. For a while, they're actually paying people to with the negative interest rates, especially in Europe. If we want to go back into Europe, but Europe was they were basically paying people just to take money and get loans with the negative interest rates.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I see this as being one of the bigger stories in crypto, especially as we come out, at least we think we're coming out of this bear market. I think there's a lot of things that are trending upward, but to hear that IBM, one of the bigger players in the blockchain space, and obviously the federal government, to have them kind of cooperate, and I think it's through the Stellar blockchain, which is interesting because you would think that when they wanted to create this stablecoin that it would be an in-house, I don't know the actual terminology, but kind of like a private blockchain,
Right.
Where they're using Stellar, which is, I believe, a open chain network. So that's from this news, that's one thing that really stood out to me.
Yeah, that's huge. And the problem with Tether is they're not audited. And so at any given moment, if you think they're tied to the dollar and you print 300 million Tether or 3 million Tether, whatever it is that money really backed by anything? Because the people who are printing that, who's that going to? How does anyone here know how Tether actually, once they print Tether, how does that get distributed? Does anyone know that?
No, I have no idea.
See?
I have no idea.
Yeah, that'd be interesting though, because I always see news in the news, Tether prints 2 billion or something like that. But how's that actually getting distributed? It just goes onto an exchange at a dollar rate, or Connor?
Yeah, I think they just have. From what I've heard is that they have some deal with Bitfinex, or in Poloniex, I think, where whoever trades Tether basically, they'll supply. I think Tether will, in some way lend and make it make good on the transaction, so that they have those Tether tokens on that exchange, so that they can lend out for when someone wants to sell it.
Right. Right.
Mm.
Do you guys ever trade into Tether? Anyone here ever tether up or tether down? Or
Tether's got no gains for me.
no?
I think people use it more as a safe haven.
Right.
When things are going bad. So you made a bunch of money. You want to stay in crypto. You don't want to put it out into fiat. But you also don't want to be in the shitcoin that pumped 2x because it's just going to dump. So they go right into Tether and
Flip into Tether, yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you look on the exchanges, usually you have ETH pairs, BTC pairs, and then usually some USDT pairs or whatever.
Do you think that incentivizes people to not sell then? Because if you're I don't want to get Tether because what is Tether? It's just some made up thing that people can just create whenever they want, So how if I was gonna sell and then hold, I wouldn't want to hold Tether for more than a month, because who knows what's gonna happen with that.
Right.
Yeah, a quote from the actual article on CoinDesk. It looks like IBM's head of blockchain services. It says, what we really want to do is enable all sorts of digital transactional networks to settle their transactions with digital fiat currency on the same blockchain networks. So reading into that a little bit more, it just...
Did they have any timeline for when this is going to come out?
I didn't see a timeline. We can look farther into that. Do you guys see that on the article at all?
No, not.
It'll be interesting to see how this affects the price of Tether too, because Tether usually it'll move around, 97 cents, $1.03, but it's always right around that $1 mark. And from what I can tell, and maybe I'm ignorant to it, but that's only based on, hey, we said we're tied to $1, and nobody's ever actually proved it. There's been partial audits or semi-audits or whatever. But if people hear that this IBM, which is a huge company, is coming out with this, fiat tethered currency, for lack of a better term, and it's actually backed by the FDIC, people might not be flipping into Tether anymore. And then all of a sudden your demand goes down and the price might go down.
Yeah. Like that's like the thing with like pegged currencies, I know. Like when a currency tries to peg themselves, like an actual country currency to $1, like they can maintain that for like a little bit. But like, I know like in econ, like the main thing is like, that's a very temporary thing. And like a pegged currency is always gonna, like, when you get like Goldman Sachs or whatever trying to like short that, they'll just try to break that basically, And when it breaks, then you could just, they screw around with that all the time.
Right.
Yeah, I would hesitate to especially do that overseas because a lot of overseas countries, they're not, their currency isn't as stable at all. So you're pegging the currency to an inherently unstable currency to begin with.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyways, moving on to that next piece of news. This is a little bit older. I think it's about 2 weeks old. But Coinbase, I guess, is speculating. They're not adding it literally. They're speculating on whether they're going to add, I think it was 5 coins. Which coins were those guys?
Yeah, so we got Cardano, Basic Attention Token, Stellar, Zcash, and what is it, ZRX?
Yeah,
ZRX.
Yeah, okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing, about Cardano is that a couple weeks ago, they also said they were speculating about adding Ethereum Classic, which it's the same company that sponsors Cardano or, made Cardano or operates Cardano, I guess, IOHK and Charles Hoskinson. So, me and Connor are both pretty big Cardano fans and IOHK fans. So it's interesting to see. Hopefully my portfolio will benefit from that.
Just for sake of transparency, you guys don't have to answer this, but what coins do you guys hold right now in your portfolio?
I've got Cardano, just got some, basics, Ethereum, Monero, and what else do I have? I've got a coin called Snovio.
Snovio. Yeah, tell us about that.
The only reason I have it is because my buddy made a lot of money off of it. But it's really cheap. It's like less than a cent. So I've got like 50 or 60,000 of them. So,
Did you make any money off of it? Did you buy it?
I haven't made any money off of it, but
he's still holding it, so
I'm still holding it. Yeah, but I mean, if it goes to 50 cents again, we'll have a conversation then. So
nice.
If you sell,
don't hold your breath.
Yeah, I remember when our trading strategy was to look at the top 100 coins on CoinMarketCap, and any that were under 1 cent, we purchased in mass.
Just buy it.
And during the bull market, it worked out perfectly because people were just buying low market cap coins, because they would be inflated easier.
You come in and be like, hey, I bought XYZ coin. Oh, really? What does that do? It goes up.
I think the market doesn't really nobody seems to care about what a coin really is. A lot of people just look at the price. Oh, that's cheap. Let me buy it. I can make gains off of it.
Right.
So I think that's still kind of the market.
Yeah. I think we're coming out of that a little bit.
Yeah,
we're starting to mature as an industry a little bit more. But definitely, I think it's still the majority are buying tokens just for speculation.
I think just like psychologically too, it's like from something going from 1 cent to 2 cents, even if the market cap's like $1 billion, that's like still $1 billion. Like doesn't matter what the token price is, but
yeah, it's still 50% gain.
Yeah, but like the same amount of money's flowing in, but I don't think it would flow in if it had to push from $200 to $400.
Yeah.
Like people just wouldn't buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of the reason why we have this discussion. Me and Pete Gay, our director of globalization, who was on last week's episode.
Yeah, he was on there.
We were talking about what do people who invest in ICOs, what do they want to see about the token? And I said, I think they want to see token price. And he said, token price, if you represent it in US dollar, doesn't matter because you need to know the supply. And I said, while I understand that you need to know the supply, people still want to see that because in the back of my head, even though I know it's irrational, I want to know, can I own 10,000 of this token or can I own 0.75 of this token? Because I want to own 10,000 of it because if it goes up 50%, or it goes up even more, I just feel like there's more room for it to, bubble up and I can make more of it.
I feel like that's the general public's feeling.
But that's irrational. It's irrational.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying that 10,000, like if you have 10,000, you just like feel good about yourself, because then you can just easily calculate in your head, if this goes to $1, oh my God.
People like those round numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's what's so big about adding to Coinbase, because Coinbase is the biggest on and off ramp for just the general people out there, right? The masses. That Coinbase is by far the most popular exchange for the general user, not the experienced cryptocurrency user. So it's huge for it to be added to Coinbase because those people are thinking. Those people aren't thinking about the projects, like you're saying.
Absolutely.
These people are getting in because of the speculation. So if they go on to Coinbase and that's probably why Ethereum and Litecoin pumped, to be honest, because people are seeing Coinbase, like hearing about Coinbase in December 2017, and they download the app and they see Coinbase is at 4K and Litecoin's at $30. They're like, I should buy Litecoin instead.
Right. Yep.
Litecoin sounds like Bitcoin could be the next, $18,000 coin or whatever. You have no idea what it is. It's easy to buy. It's right there.
Exactly.
That's why I think if Cardano does potentially get listed on there, I do think that, because it's only like 15 cents. I think people will be like, oh my God, it's 15 cents. And, I think it will just pump.
What's the supply of Cardano?
It's about like 38 billion or so.
38 billion?
I need to check.
Jeez.
That's just off the top of my head.
Cardano, isn't it still just all vaporware? Or is that
well, currently, it's like the current supply is 25 billion. Wait, is that billion? Yeah, billion.
Okay.
But total supply is going to be 31 billion.
Cardano is its own protocol, right? Eventually, that's its goal.
Yeah.
But isn't it still an Ethereum-based token right now?
No, so it was never really a token. It's just centralized right now. So right now, it's just running off the IOHK servers. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that, but it's centralized. But they're transitioning to implement their proof of stake thing called Ouroboros, which is they had it peer reviewed and everything, and they went through this big process, and now they're just going through the state of working out the exact incentive mechanism. On the roadmap, it's about 90% complete though.
Okay.
And that would be making everything decentralized.
So you guys are both bullish Cardano.
Oh yeah. Yeah, very bullish.
Yeah.
Buy Cardano.
When we were at San Francisco, when we were at Token Fest in San Francisco, the funniest story of all time happened.
Oh yeah, you guys will
Token
appreciate
Fest.
this.
We had our booth set up at ICO Alert. We were one of the head sponsors at Token Fest, so we had a lot of foot traffic, and so we brought these interactive playthings pretty much to get people's attention.
They're cutouts of famous people in the blockchain space's faces.
Yeah, so we had Satoshi, we had
McAfee.
We had John McAfee.
We had the guy from Mt. Gox.
They were a hit. They were a complete hit.
Everybody stopped at our booth to use the faces and take pictures, and it was funny.
So Mike, our COO and co-founder, you guys know Mike, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
I don't think I know my boss.
So Mike is there with, I think, Zach Gall. Zach Gall is really, he. If you guys don't know that are listening to the podcast, he's the one that hosts Everything EOS with Rob Finch, our co-founder as well. And so he's sitting at the booth with Zach Gall. It's pretty slow time. It's literally just one person, probably every 5 minutes. So this person walks up and he's looking through the faces. And he's looking through faces. He picks up Dan Larimer's face, founder of EOS, right? And Mike literally goes to the guy. He's like, "Hey, maybe you could be Dan Larimer for a day." And Gall is cracking up in the corner, just laughing his ass off. The guy literally looks at Mike, puts it down, walks away, says nothing. And Gall is like, "Do you know who that was?"
Oh my God.
That was Hoskins.
He absolutely hates Dan.
Yeah, and they apparently have a big rivalry, right?
Yeah. They have some beef that goes way, way back.
Yeah, exactly.
Mike just so innocently was like, "You could be him for a day."
Oh my God. He's got beef with ICO Alert.
Yeah.
Now he does. God damn it.
That makes sense.
Well, we're giving Cardano some love today, so
We are.
hopefully that'll make up for it.
Charles, we're even now.
Yeah, we're
Gave you some-
sorry.
It's funny you mentioned McAfee too, because I saw I don't know if any of you guys have Twitters, but he's having some Twitter issues right now. There's like a fake McAfee page or something like trying to like dox him or something, and he's like quoting their tweets and like getting all like mad about it. It's pretty
Really?
funny. Yeah.
Damn.
He's a
People are just trolling
walking-
McAfee.
Yeah.
He's like a
He
drama.
deserves to be trolled.
He has so much drama surrounding him. Every week, something new's going on with that
Yeah.
guy. He's a maniac.
He wasn't able to go to appear live at the conference in Atlantic City, the Blockchain World Conference.
Oh, you went there, right?
Right, yeah. And because the conference said that they were getting credible death threats on his life, that, someone's going to assassinate him.
What?
Oh my.
And he's
God.
like, I'm Skyping in from a remote location, like a remote local location somewhere in the Jersey area, And, like, it was just a bunch of craziness.
How was the conference, by the way? What did you think of that?
It was a lot of fun. Like, it was like an ICO conference basically. So there was a lot of, I felt like I was kind of at work still, almost, like, just because it was everything. I saw like a bunch of tokens that I like worked on, like, I guess here.
Oh, really?
That I reviewed, and even this one I was thinking like maybe I shouldn't list it, because I couldn't find some data on it, but then I looked hard, like, thinking it was like a scam, and then you actually see the real people,
Right.
and it's like, oh, okay.
You scrambled back to your hotel room.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Let me go relist that one.
Did you have your ICO alert stuff on or what?
I was wearing the t-shirt and stuff. People, like, it was weird. Like, you would think, like, me going there, like, oh, well, no, who's going to care about, like, me? But you tell them, like, oh, well, I'm an intern at ICO Alert, and they just go nuts. Like, it's a big name. It was, like, basically the biggest name there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Not that we were really there, but, the intern. The people.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Yeah, it's one of the sort of intangibles that I always look for when I'm evaluating an ICO is if there's video of them at conferences or they're speaking or they have some booth set up, I know that they're willing to put their face out there. And
Definitely.
it kind of even, I could take it a step further, and I was thinking about this over the weekend, is one of the things that I look for in an ICO if I'm going to invest is, are people who are the founders of the ICO putting their name and their face on the line? Is there some guy who he has a good work history, he's worked for credible companies in the past, he's got a good network, he's out there on the street, at the conferences talking to people, and his credibility is actually on the line where if they pulled an exit scam, people would be sending this guy death threats because we know who he is, we know about where he lives, we know his work history, we know all that stuff. Not that, anybody's getting violent, or I'm not condoning violence, but I'm just saying people that, that's one of the things that gives me confidence when I'm looking at a project is this person's actually putting their neck on the line for this project. So there's no way, there's still a way that they could exit scam and pull off the mask, I guess, and drive away in a Beamer. But it's, I don't know, it's one of those weird intangible kind of ways that I qualify good projects.
Definitely. I actually was looking at a project the other day, and the first thing you see when you go to the website is just a picture of the guy just standing in like a random place in the city with the Ethereum address, the contribution address. And I'm like, this is such a scam. Like, that was my first thought. And then I'm like looking at the project a little bit more. This is an okay like project. I looked at the white paper a little bit, but I look back at that picture. I'm like, that's genius. Actually, it made me think it's a scam right at first, and then I'm like, oh, like that's actually something that not a lot of projects are doing.
Yeah.
Like the founder of the actual project has a picture of the Ethereum contribution address
Of the contribution address, and then it was in text up above it, so you could match it to like this is the contribution address. You're not getting phished. Here it is.
Yeah, so that was a really interesting situation. I guess someone could always doctor the photo.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think, that's, it's sort of like when you would like sign things like with encryption or whatever to verify that that's you, like with PGP or whatever. It's sort of like you would have like the physical photo or like on the website or whatever, and then the actual text up top just to verify it.
Gotcha.
So you guys are both data analyst interns. You probably look at more ICOs every day than Q and I do. Well, maybe not, but what's one of the things that you guys would do? Like, what's personally, if you're an investor, because we always try to think like investors around here and think what's a good project to, help promote to the public. What do you guys look for in projects that, something that you've learned through this internship?
Yeah. definitely kind of just like what you just said. The main thing, you know, a lot of the pages, you know, the number one red flag for me is when, you know, they have this nice looking website and they have a nice team and, you know, everything looks great. And then you try to, you know, click on the team or whatever. And then it's like, it'll just take you to like a non-existent LinkedIn page or, you know, whatever. So then it's like, okay, you know, these people, you know, it's like, why can't you put your LinkedIn on there? But, you know, if you go to a page where, you know, a company, you know, that, a CEO or, you know, whatever, you click on it and it goes to his LinkedIn page and they've got a company that's, you know, working on the project and everything. And they've got, you know, endorsements, connections, you know, that's really what you should be looking for. Someone who's willing to, you know, put their name out there, like you just said, and somebody you can verify is, you know, a part of the project.
Yeah, I'd say like, you definitely want to look at the team because you're not really like someone that could have a great idea, like just basically like copy like some other great idea and then, you know, put up a website and make it look really good. But if you don't actually have that team to implement that idea, I don't know how else you're going to get like, because you're giving the money to these people and you want to know that the people you're giving the money to, you know, are like capable of being trusted.
Right.
I mean, some of these websites are so shitty. Like, it's like you got to think it's like you want us to give you money and like you can't even put up a good website. Like, it's like, how do you think people are going to invest in this? Like, it's just, some of them are just ridiculous.
Yeah, we have arguments in here all the time. Some of these websites aren't, and I think a majority of the time that is 100% true. Like they're pretty much just like, let's throw up a website and see if anyone will send us 100 ETH.
And people do.
Yeah, people do. But sometimes you're working with a team that is heavily like engineer focused or heavily tech focused, and they don't have that background of you know, web development. So I think sometimes we have arguments in the office like, oh, this is a bad project. Well, no, maybe they're a good project, but they don't have any web development skills. So it's definitely a debate you have to go back and forth on.
Yeah, like that's interesting because at the conference I was talking to this guy who his whole company just works on building communities and doing like that. Like if you're like a, you know, like really good in the tech or whatever, but you just do like blockchain stuff, like a legit team, like, but you just have like or maybe you're from like a different country and you don't understand like what the
Languages.
English like culture is like over here, and they'll help them with like translating like the white paper and making it basically localized, and then working on having a Telegram. Like they're like, you need to have a Telegram and a Twitter and all these things, basic stuff that we look at, and if we see that you don't have like a Telegram or whatever, it's sort of weird. But there's definitely some legit people out there who just need like some manager basically to tell them like to keep them contained and make them like presentable.
Interesting.
Right.
Yeah, I think Telegram's also a good way to, you know, vet projects. You know, but it's funny, today I was actually on Telegram because I was trying to find out information about some ICO's white paper. And like this guy like saw my question, I guess, like some random dude, and he was like, hey, I want you to start working with me. We can blow up these Telegrams and, you know, sell all these projects bots. We can sell them all, sell them bots to make the Telegram groups bigger. Oh, these ICOs are going to give us so much money. So it's like, you always got to be careful, you know, because you're posting to a group, you know, that can, you know, have, you know, thousands of people. So you never know who's looking at your stuff. But,
well, I've actually had a ton of scammers that act like they're the admin on a Telegram group that reach out to me. Usually I'll delete it, but sometimes I'll entertain myself for a little bit, scam bait them, make them. I saw someone on Twitter that this girl on Instagram actually was her friend. They were acting like they were her friend because I guess they saw them commenting on each other's things, and they were both in the crypto space. So they copied her friend's entire Instagram, like every picture in her Instagram,
my God.
then DM'd her and was like, hey, I need 1 BTC real quick. I'll pay you back. Like, don't worry about it. And the girl was smart enough. She knew it was a scammer. And she was like, oh my God, yeah, I'll send you 1 BTC. But remember when we were watching Ghostbusters last week? Like, what was the scariest part for you? And just took this scammer down this 3-hour conversation about Ghostbusters.
I love it.
oh my God.
Yeah, but as far as bots and stuff on Telegram go, I was actually talking to Dima and I were actually talking to somebody who does Telegram community engagement, and they said there was a really good project that got a bunch of bots though for their Telegram because they didn't know how to go about it, and the bots ended up filling. I guess they just go around and just grab a bunch of people and just throw them into random Telegram groups, and they ended up filling the Telegram group to capacity, which is like 100,000 people. And while the project was going out and trying to actually market the project, people couldn't join the Telegram because it was at capacity with all these random people that bots just threw in. So they had to just delete the Telegram and nuke it and restart. So
it backfired on them.
yeah, so if you're a project out there and Telegram's one of your issues, definitely don't go the way of bots, because I would rather see 900 people in a Telegram than 75,000 people when I know it's blatantly just a bunch of bullshit.
When I'm looking at a project to invest in myself, one thing that I'm looking for now is the vesting schedule. That's I think as we mature, as the market matures, it's not going to be exit scams, man. It's not going to be like complete scam ICOs. It's going to be what I guess people are calling like soft scams, in that they're raising this money, they're relatively active, but their end goal is to like raise money in ICO, be a legit ICO or be a legit cryptocurrency project, and then slowly just walk away. The project dies, right? And that's going to be, it's not going to be the complete exit scam, because people are starting to be more knowledgeable to say, oh shit, if I give this money to this ICO, I'll never see anything. It's the soft scams that I think are going to be the problems in the future. Investing schedules take care of that.
Yeah, and I think it's like, especially in this space where there's always a cop out, oh, well, we're going to just step down because we want it to be, we're going to leave it to the community to develop it or whatever, where they say like, oh, yeah, well, yeah, we have like 40% of the tokens or whatever, but you guys can just, so you've got majority, you guys, can handle the development, all this. And then they just sort of say, okay, goodbye.
Yeah.
Like I've seen,
Yep.
a few of those.
Yeah. So I do think, though, one thing about the market overall, especially with a lot of this good news, and this is just my take, but it feels like maybe there's some more bullish sentiment bubbling under the surface than there has been in the past couple months. But I don't know if you guys agree with that sentiment or not.
I probably agree. Part of me wants to think that we still haven't bottomed, and that this short little, spurt of bullishness in the market is, bull trap. But, another part of me wants to say, hey, look at the chart. You're like, we're kind of gone down for, the market pumped last year around, it started around, gaining some, what do you call it? Like traction.
Momentum.
Yeah, momentum right now. And, then when did it peak last year? December, January. So we'll see what happens, but I don't know. What do you think, Connor?
I don't know. I think that if you look at a lot of like the altcoin charts, they look a lot more bottomy than Bitcoin does. And like I've been like on the fence about like whether like Bitcoin's gonna go down another leg or not. Like I could totally see it going down, farther, just because just to like wipe out a lot of the other. I think there's a lot of people who have gotten sort of complacent and said, oh, well, I'm not selling now. But if it went down like another leg to like 4K, they would, I think you just need the capitulation where people panic sell and then they throw the money out. And that's where like a lot of the big institutional people, will come in.
The big boys load up.
Yeah, you need to see like, there's just like not a lot of volume on this. Like there's bullish sentiment, yeah, but I don't see a lot of it. Like the volume that we need to see to hit like new highs, like
right?
New all-time highs, really.
Yeah. The only thing that I know is that the more news that we get, like these IBMs, these BlackRocks joining the space of the industry, the more stable like I feel about the industry in general. I think if you talk to the OGs that were in like 2014 and you see like 80% crashes and there's nothing to back it up, right? There's no IBM Tether that's coming out. There's no NASDAQ exchange. None of these institutional. Can you imagine like how freaked out you'd be?
Yeah.
If like you lost 80% of your profit and it was just, I think it was still just Bitcoin at that point. Maybe Ethereum. When was Ethereum?
It was like
Ethereum was
2016.
Maybe even later than that.
Well, yeah, because they did like they were like kind of like the first big ICO.
Right.
That was like
the birth of smart contracts.
Right. Which was like 2014, I think, is when they did that. Was it like Consensus? At some like one of the big conferences, they announced that.
Oh, so it was that long ago.
Yeah, and then they raised a whole bunch of money, and then like a little while later, they actually came out with a platform.
Okay.
But I think that's around the time when Hoskinson left it, because he was the first CEO of Ethereum.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow!
Just for like a few months, and then he got, especially after, he left before the whole DAO issue, but like there was a whole philosophical difference between him and Vitalik, basically.
Gotcha.
Where they basically just split off. And
Kind of like Ethereum.
exactly. And then, coincidentally,
Ethereum forked or whatever.
Yeah. Cool. So we'll take a break. We'll come back. I think we have a lot to talk about with the media that we've been putting out lately with BlockTalk, and we'll have a couple things to say as well about some ICOs before we finish off.
Yo, Q.
What's up, Ev?
What is the ICO Alert Roundtable?
The Roundtable is a casual discussion about current events and coins that we're passionate about. What isn't the ICO Alert Roundtable?
The ICO Alert Roundtable isn't tax, legal, financial, professional, or any other kind of advice.
For sake of transparency, members of today's podcast own the following coins: Bitcoin, Ethereum, EOS, Basic Attention Token, Ethereum Classic, 0x, Stellar, Cardano, Monero, Snovio, and Doge.
Without further ado, let's get back into the roundtable.
All right, guys, welcome back. This is intern Drew Tomich. Like you guys probably heard me earlier.
DT.
Yep, DT.
Known in the crypto hood as DT.
Oh yeah. Make sure you guys definitely watch the new BlockTalk episode this week that me and your favorite interns, Connor, are gonna produce later today. We're gonna go out to where are we going later, Connor?
we're going to go down to the Smiling Moose. It's a little bar over on the south side of Pittsburgh. It's over on East Carson Street. There's a Bitcoin, what is it, a meetup?
Yeah, there's a blockchain event meetup going on. So we're going to go over there, start interviewing some people. If you guys have any, good things you want us to ask people, make sure you put it in the comments, and we'll see what we can do.
Connor, are they going to let you into that bar, man?
Yeah, they're going to let me in.
I know, it's old enough.
He seems pretty confident in that. Yeah, they're going to let me in.
Ev, can you talk about the BlockTalk? Because I know a lot of people haven't seen the BlockTalk. They don't know what the BlockTalk is. So
yeah, sure. So the BlockTalk is basically an idea that Ryan, our head of content, and Dimitri came up with a while back, where we wanted to do street interviews of people just around about the neighborhood, just kind of catch them off guard and see what they know about the crypto space. So I decided to run with it, and we put out an episode last week. It's on our YouTube. It's also on our blog. You can find it. And we went to the Grand Prix auto show where lots of people had Ferraris and Lamborghinis. So I stopped them on the street, asked them if they knew anything about crypto and if they sold any crypto to acquire their various sports cars. And then we did a little fun game where I made up a bunch of ICO names and compared them to each other. So one was Shallow Onion versus
Putin Classic or something, right?
Yeah, so there was Putin Classic versus Vladimirium, which Putin Classics are actually a real token. There was Tora Tor versus Bible Pay, and Bible Pay is actually a real one, but I just think the name Tora Tor just cracks me up. So go ahead and check that out. And again, the interns here, Connor and Drew, coming out with their own rendition of that. So we'll see how the intern squads compares to mine.
My favorite part about that was the absolute first thing that you said. You literally walk up to some lady and it's obviously a Ferrari, and you're like,
no,
so
it was a GT.
Was it a Ford GT?
It was a Ford GT. I don't know anything about cars, so I go up to it and I'm like,
it wasn't a Lambo.
I knew it wasn't a Lambo, but I'm like, this is a really nice Ferrari you have here. And the first thing she says is, it's a Ford GT. All right, way to start this interview, Ev. Good job.
Yeah, it actually worked well. I thought it set the tone for the whole interview.
I mean, it's a silly thing, so we'll see how you boys do. I'm confident in you. You'll be able to do pretty well. But yeah, the BlockTalk, we're trying to do more video content around here. So if you guys are in the YouTube comments browsing around, why don't you throw some ideas out? Tell us what you want to see. Tell us what you want to hear about on the next episode. We'll definitely take that into consideration.
Absolutely. You did a great job with that too. I thought it was good content, especially for it being your first time.
Thanks.
So that was good.
I'm good at everything the first time I do it.
We'll leave that there.
Yeah, so I wanted to actually dive into a couple specific ICOs that I've come across in the past month or so. One of which is going to take me into kind of a deeper topic, and then want to get your feedback on it. So the ICO is actually called Mainframe. I believe the ticker symbol is MFT. Q is actually the one that kind of gave me the heads up on this. So I don't know if you want to talk about how you found it, but I want to bring up their website real quick.
Yeah, while you're bringing up the website, I'll explain the short version of... Actually, took me 10 seconds to find. It was just scrolling through Twitter, and people were kind of talking about Mainframe, and it was when they had just distributed their tokens. And literally, I don't know if it was within 24 hours that they announced that they were being listed on Binance.
Yeah.
And that was the whole thing for me, was that is the way that, ICOs should be run. You should have an ICO that launches on time, that distributes their tokens right away, and gets listed on a good exchange.
Yeah, they were listed on a major exchange within 24 hours of the ICO end date, which is really cool. That kind of struck your interest. So the ICO is actually over. And then I looked into it. But one of the things that I saw that really struck my interest, and this was on their site, and I'm trying to find it actually. It doesn't look like they have it here anymore. But, okay. So they had a list of some of their funds who participated in their pre-sale. And a lot of these funds and a lot of these like builders, so many great founders in the blockchain community participated in our pre-sale. Below are a few projects that the founders belong to. And these are companies like Zilliqa, Polymath, Bancor, Icon, QuantStamp, AION. I don't even know how to pronounce that one, but Simple Token, Parity. Like these are all ICOs. So this is kind of an interesting thing where why are ICOs investing in other ICOs? What's going on with that? And so I did a bit of research, and I actually found a really interesting thread written on Twitter. Let me just pull this up real quick. So this is actually by Brett Winton, at Winton ARK. Shout out you, Brett. And I'm just going to read a couple of these and then try to get your guys' feedback on this. So he said, where is the leverage in the crypto asset space? Here's an example. Developer Team ICO has an ICO, and they raised $30 million worth of ETH. Now, what do they do with the money? $30 million is substantially more than the token team requires. They have developer incentives, marketing, exchange listing, and travel and office space and all that, but that probably nets to like $1 million a year. So what? They have 30 years of runway now. That's a lot, but they're worried about crypto asset prices, competitors offering, competing products and things like that. Some of your competitors could raise even more money, makes you kind of an afterthought, things like that. So what they start doing is post ICO, they see it as a risk that all these other ICOs are out there raising more money. So to hedge the risk, they start investing in the upcoming ICOs. And it's like a way for them to hedge their risk, but they're leveraging the money that they've raised. So now if I'm investing in one of these, and I mean, Mainframe is just one example, but this happens all the time, where if I'm investing in QuantStamp and now they're investing in Mainframe, and now I'm leveraged against Mainframe, even though I didn't want to invest in it. It's a weird thing that's going on. I'm wondering how it's affecting the market when these products should be focused on their own projects.
So essentially, some of the money that was raised by these projects, they're turning into a fund.
A fund for other crypto
ICOs.
projects.
Sort of like a hedge fund type thing.
Yeah,
They're trying to buy out, because I see it as like they're trying to buy a stake in that new company or whatever. Or they could even use those funds to, like Challengely, like the thing that now has a deal with CoinMarketCap. Like they got like that little thing, like buy Bitcoin or buy this token on CoinMarketCap. Anyway, they're owned by this other company.
Changelly?
Changelly, that's it. But yeah, so Changely's it. But they're owned by, there's all these like network of things that are like corporations or whatever. And they're all owned by like this like one company. I forget who it is, but basically you could take that money, you could throw it in stuff like that, and then buy these actual companies, you know, like to hedge like against like if the project doesn't pan out.
Right. Well, and I just think of it from this perspective is if there's an ICO that's raising all their money in a private sale where the only funds they're raising are from other ICOs, that's just creating value out of nothing. It's just creating the value out of thin air. That money was already invested by retail investors into these companies thinking that the money was going into those projects for whatever they needed. And now they're creating another company out of you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's just
I guarantee in that allocation pie chart that it didn't say hedge fund.
Yeah, right. So I don't know. I'm interested to see sort of how that plays out. I mean, and I'm not trying to pick on Mainframe. I think Mainframe's actually a good project. They've got an awesome video if you want to check it out of them presenting their chat system. They have multiple like voice chat text chat.
Mainframe
It's
do?
all so Mainframe is actually end-to-end encryption for chat and for file sharing, and they already have an MVP built. I forget the name exactly of it. Let me take a look here.
I don't think ICOs that raised money in 2017, I think we already had this conversation, but 2017 and 2018, in early 2018, they didn't have the right people, a good amount of them didn't have the right people with them that took on the responsibility of what to do with $15 to $20 million. They were just like small teams that all of a sudden they're a startup that has 20 mil, and now what? They hold it in ETH, and now ETH is down 60%. So you raise 20 million, and now you have 9. You know, like, and you have to pay taxes on the 20 million. It's just it's
Just keep holding it, or what? Do you start your
Put
do you
it all
start
in
your
Tether.
operations later, or whatever. Good.
Buy a bunch of Tether.
there you
Tether
go.
up.
Yep, by the
Yeah.
IBM Tether.
The name of the application they have, it's their MVP, is called Onyx, Onyx. And it looks a lot like Slack, but it's fully decentralized, censorship resistant, surveillance resistant. So there's some sort of cryptography thing
Yeah.
that you can do. I'm not like the most technical guy ever, obviously, but it looks pretty good. It looks like the UI and the UX is really good. They actually, in the video, they were presenting on stage and they had everyone in the audience download it real quick, and then they went into a big group chat.
Oh,
And
that's
even
cool.
the group chats are totally surveillance free, totally censorship free, stuff like that. So it's cool. I mean, it looks like they have good tech, but it's some of the financing parts that, there's still some strange things going on underneath the surface.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I feel like a lot of times these days, some developing team might have a good project, and they sort of like might hold that back and say, ooh, well, I got this good project. Maybe I can get 20 mil out of this. When normally they would just like release it and it'd be open source, and they'd just do it for like the, like, because they love humanity or whatever. And,
Like Satoshi.
yeah. But now it's like, oh, well, I got this like good idea. I know this cryptographic thing where I can make this chat thing, but why do you really need to raise 20 million? And then like, obviously like if the ICO ended recently, but they've already had like the working product. I mean, I don't know. I haven't looked into it, but like if I can download that thing now, it seems a little like, is it worth 20 million to pay for this thing?
Right. Like it's already built. What's the money? Yeah. I mean, that's, I guess,
It's an
the other.
embarrassment of riches. It's just like, why not do it? Why not
Right.
raise 20 mil? You're not going to turn down 20 million. That gives you a huge runway.
Right.
It gives you can hire the best people. That's what EOS is doing right now. And I don't mean to put EOS into the podcast, God damn it. But yeah, they raised all that money and they're hiring the best of the best from
Yeah.
outside the cryptocurrency space.
Well, and it goes both ways, because the other end of the spectrum is you could come out with a white paper and a bunch of screenshots and bullshit and have nothing built and be like, hey, I don't have it built because I need $20 million to do it. So.
But I do get your point. That is a good point. If it's already built, if they're already building and the demo's out and such, then what did you need to raise 20 million for?
Yeah, but I guess I was just thinking like, probably since it's decentralized and it's all private, like how Slack might make their money is that they're actually collecting the data on you and they're tracking you. And so they would be making the money by just having a user base, while they're not going to have access to that data. So they're saying, well, because we could make 20 million if we spied on you, sort of, and then we sold that data to some other
Right.
company, like
Right.
Facebook or
Like
whatever.
Facebook, yeah.
Like Zuckerberg.
Well, and the big thing that pisses me off about social media is not so much them spying on me or using my data, because you agree to that with all the user agreements, and I don't really care if you use my data.
Nobody reads that anyway.
Get paid.
Right. It's the censorship that pisses me off.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say
Yeah.
pay.
That's what really gets me, is these platforms like Twitter and Facebook, they're the ones that are now filtering the news so that I see what they think I want to see, or they get away. Like the Twitter used to be, did you notice this? Every social media, not even just Twitter, it used to be a timeline. It used to be, this was posted most recent, this was posted second most recent. Now, when you go on Twitter, you have to press 9 buttons to get down to the good shit at the bottom, where
Yeah.
people are, cussing each other out and actually having diverse conversations.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, Twitter, I guess I'm not allowed to see that. You're going to tell me that that's sensitive information. That's what pisses me off.
Yeah.
They're trying
Connor's
to
on the same page.
Yeah.
Vote Ron Paul.
a lot of these decentralized apps are going to help that if they ever take off. If dApps ever take off, that's going to solve that issue almost immediately.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I was just thinking, like, because I've heard from people who aren't even into, just like, like random people, like they want a Twitter they just want a social media thing where it's just a timeline of the events, like what people posted, and I think there's probably like a demand for that out there, and with the decentralized apps, you could definitely do that.
Yeah, there's definitely demand.
I think Twitter needs to fix, especially in the crypto space. Just fix how everything. I don't know, because there's like every tweet you see from like a crypto, somebody in the space, like whatever project, there's so many scammers on every tweet,
Right.
With the same profile picture posing as them, hey, send Ethereum to this address, and it's like, if you're actually that stupid to do that, I mean, that's kind of your own problem, but I think they need to clean up, somehow, just make like, because they don't even like let people be verified anymore, which is a huge issue,
that.
They need to, make sure people are verified so people stop losing money,
Yeah.
and protect people, I guess.
That's why I really appreciate why at Evan J. Schindler put not giving away ETH in his name. Thank you, Evan.
That's so people know I'm not giving away ETH. I only have 70 followers on Twitter, so
But those 70 are protected.
they're protected. They know I'm not giving it away. Actually, I changed it to Evan trying to get rid of my ETH, Schindler.
Not giving away Doge.
Yeah, not giving away Doge. But all right,
yeah.
go ahead, Connor.
No, I don't know. I feel like the people, honestly, even if it said not like Vitalik not giving away ETH, Buterin or whatever, people like you check that ETH address below and they have the same name and everything. And it's like somehow there's 8 ETH in there. I don't know. I consider it the stupid tax. Like if you're that like
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
like that's
Yeah.
sort of kind of a good for society, in a weird way.
Natural selection.
Natural selection.
right. Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, so I wanted to move on to another interesting ICO. This one has a bit less of a philosophical debate behind it, I guess, in the ICO space. But this one's called Papusha Rocket Technology, and it has kind of a weird name, and it looks a little bit.
scam.
No, it's not a scam. Well, who knows? Actually, anything can be a scam nowadays. But it looks interesting. When you first get to the website, I was a little bit sketched out, like what is going on here. But it turns out this guy, Anatoly Papusha, is like one of the leading experts in rocket fuel technology. He worked with like the guys from the space race and Sputnik and all this crazy shit. And I am a sucker for unique ideas, let's put it that way. And so this rocket technology, I mean, who knows? That's pretty lofty goals and stuff, but apparently this guy's pretty legit. Anatoly Papusha, he's got pictures of him with the rocket space race Russian team, and he was the guy that did a lot of the fuel, like changing waste into fuel. So that's what this is all about. It's not so much about actually building a rocket. They're not going to build a rocket, but they're actually trying to turn waste into fuel, into rocket fuel for space exploration. So it's just unique, which I always like.
So you guys have been on it for about 30 seconds now. I know you're on the website. And I know you guys usually vet projects. It usually takes you about 10, 15 minutes or what have you to vet these projects. But out of the 30, 45 seconds that you've seen on this website right now, would you list this on ICO Alert?
They get linked in. I don't know. The one thing that's different about this project is this guy looks like he's like old. Like this guy looks like the picture. It says Anatoly Papusha, like professor, leading expert in the rocket and space industry. And it's like this old guy with the stern look. Like he looks like pretty serious. Like you don't really see a lot of people in the that are older in age on the sponsoring these websites, but. I guess I don't know. He looks pretty serious. Looks like Putin kind of in his profile pic. He's like all like angry kind of looking. Like I'm gonna make this project the best thing ever.
Yeah, like when they're old, it's a red flag to me because it's like. But I mean, I think it would probably get listed.
There you go. There it is, Ev.
Go check that one out. Papusha Rocket Technology. I like
When's
it.
their token sale?
It says it starts in
Is it just
35
one dude?
days, 11
No.
hours, 15 minutes, and 29 seconds, 28 seconds, 27 seconds.
Oh, wow.
Oh, get out there, see it now. They've got a decent, size team. But Anatoly Papusha is Doctor of Technical Science Professor, Laureate of the State Prize.
Oh, my God. Let's get him in contact with Mike, see if he wants to be on the podcast.
Yeah, maybe.
The interview podcast.
The funny thing is they've got all these patents on their website, but they're all completely in Russian. So it could be an electric bill. I have no idea what it is. But hey, it's interesting. It's fun to check out stuff like that. So that's why I brought them up.
And how much is like a Russian like patent like even like what are the patent laws in Russia like?
Who knows?
Do we respect those or
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, this looks interesting. I'll give it a second look, Ev. I'll give it a second look.
Give it a second glance, just for fun.
So I'll move on. I'll talk about one of the projects that I've recently been talking to, and that's 4 Art Technologies.
The number 4.
Yeah, the number 4 Art, and then Technologies. I guess it's 1 T. Basically, this is an interesting project, and it's something that we talked about with Pigsby. In that, I feel like a lot of companies in this crypto space try to create problems and then mold their business around it, which is not the way that businesses should work. Businesses should see a problem that's already existing and use blockchain, use crypto to solve that problem. So, what basically 4Art does is it puts art on the blockchain. So you know there's a lot of fraud that goes along with the verification of art. So that's basically what 4Art does is put art and galleries, and it's for investors.
Okay, to like verify that that's not the forgery.
Yeah, and then it's going to be on the blockchain.
Well, that actually like makes sense. Like you would want to do that as like an art investor or whatever.
Exactly, and it seems like a problem that blockchain was made to solve. A lot, maybe like voting. There's a lot of problems that when I look at some projects that are trying to solve it, I'm like, you guys are going to succeed. Whereas it's like, why does blockchain Uber need to exist?
Yeah, like why does there need to be blockchain dating?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I trust Tinder for that now. Wow, my girlfriend. Hopefully, she's not listening to this podcast.
No, nobody listens to this long as a podcast.
But not so much about the project, but the conversation that I was having with 4Art was interesting because what they wanted from ICO Alert was to grow their brand. So they've raised $12 million in private sale. And a lot of these STOs are raising a lot of money in private sale. And the problem with that is that if they're only running private sale, they're not getting that brand exposure, that community growth that comes with running an ICO.
Right.
So when you run in the ICO, you have the funding that comes with retail investors getting involved, as well as the community growth, because it's almost like a dual action that's happening with ICOs. Whereas STOs, you're only having the funding, and then you're trying to somehow build the community at the same time, and it doesn't work as well as it does in ICO.
Well, yeah, and meanwhile, they probably have less trust in private funded. I mean, unless it's super legit. But if there's a project that you've never really heard about and they've got, $3 million in private funding, but you don't really know where that came from, you could be like, I don't know. They've got money from somewhere. I don't know who's backing it. What's the point of being a community? But the way that I phrased it earlier was, if you're starting a project that requires users, would you rather have one person give you $1 million, or would you rather have 1 million people give you $1? And if you could get 1 million people to give you $1, that means that those 1 million people are incentivized to actually use the platform. They've got a stake in what the platform does. They want to see it succeed. Whereas if you have one person, obviously now that person gave you $1 million, they want to see it succeed. But that's not an entire community of people that are users. So it's an interesting time in the ICO space where we are seeing people move towards the private funding model. And I know we talk with people all the time about that. We at ICO Alert, if you guys want to list with us, we can attract private funding here. It's not a huge deal, but we want users who are going to come in, they're going to invest, and then they're going to be long-term in your community.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. Would you the million to one and 1 to 1 million? I think that's a perfect way to go to explain the issue that these STOs and these ICOs that are having private sale, they actually ran into that same problem you were talking about earlier with the Telegram, because they raised money, again, good project, solid project that the blockchain can solve, but they raised this money in private sale, and their Telegram group is just not strong because they didn't run this ICO, so they haven't had the ability to market to the retail investor. So they were like kind of talking with me about how they should go about that.
Right.
And a lot of, to your point earlier, some ICOs take the shady route.
Better start buying some bots.
Yeah, exactly.
Russian bots.
Yeah.
Russian bots.
What are you guys laughing at over there?
Oh,
Yeah, what's going on?
I was laughing because he was laughing at these pictures of the team members.
Wait, for art?
The 4 art team buyers just look pretty funny.
I don't know.
We're just laughing.
Yeah, but I think
like Albert Einstein.
yeah, they're not even that funny. Like these are like the normal people. He started cracking up, and I was
Wow, I
laughing.
just
He was
shilled
laughing at
for
it.
art for like the last 5 minutes, and you guys came down and tore it down in 2
Just
seconds.
shit on him in 1 second.
Sorry.
Everybody listening to the podcast was like, this sounds like a great project. And then you hear Drew go, yeah, but their advisors look like fucking Albert Einstein, dude. So weird. Now they're all off the
Yeah,
train.
he's from WVU. What do you expect? But the thing about the community is that's really important, I think, because even like something like Dash or whatever, which is like they didn't do an ICO, I don't think, but they're maintaining because their community is like super strong. Or like Dogecoin, like literally a meme, should have no value, but the community's there and it's got more like daily transactions than Bitcoin Cash.
Right.
You know, or same with like, I mean, just like literally any of the top 100 coins that's worth, its salt is like
could you imagine if Doge wanted to do an ICO today and they went to a private investor?
Dude, they would get so much money.
Yeah.
I don't
think they get anything from private investors. They just,
Zero.
what is your product? It's a
Doge.
picture of a
All
dog.
you gotta say, Doge.
That's it. But yeah, that's a great example of how the community actually makes it matter. And there's community people who believe in the meme and they love the memetry of Doge. And that's what actually makes it work.
Yeah,
exactly.
Didn't you post a tweet yesterday? I saw that on one of your tweets, and it was like the Bitcoin Cash compared to Doge, and it was like Doge is faster transaction time, like faster. You want to just talk about that for a second? I thought that was interesting.
Well, yeah, like it was just like basically like how Bitcoin Cash like split off and they wanted to be whatever, but Doge has more daily like active like transactions, like more daily active wallet addresses, just because the community's there.
Yeah.
And even like when you try to do like a hard fork, because say like one group really like Roger Ver and like the miners like wanted to split off and be Bitcoin Cash, they didn't have the community behind them, right? So while they split off and they're like, obviously the market cap is bigger than Doge, they don't have the transactions and the actual like use case, where something like Doge, like which you would think like they couldn't compete with someone who is trying to be Bitcoin, who's taking all this mining power from actual Bitcoin. They have more like, like on all the stats, they're beating Bitcoin Cash.
Yeah. Very interesting. So yeah, that's what I've seen as far as growing the community and the problems that these ICOs that are only running private sale have. So I hope we can help 4Art grow their community and gain that exposure. But I think that's going to be a problem for a lot of the ICOs that are now maybe even just switching to the STO. Good luck trying to find a community when none of the community is involved in your crowdfunding. I don't see it.
Yeah, and that was like going back to where I was talking about the guy who I met at the conference in Atlantic City. This guy Jamal, he works for this company called Core, and their whole thing is just building communities and managing the communities, doing like Telegram admins and basically a community manager for coins that Electronium. That was like one of their big clients that they helped out. So it allows like the team to just focus on doing the team stuff and working on the project, and they'll take over on the community end.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And the model for a lot of these public retail ICOs, the good projects that have MVPs are, if you invest in this, you're an end user, you're an owner, and you're an investor. And those three things have always had a dichotomy up until that point, because if you have private investors, you have the people that run the company, and then you have your end user or your customer. Those are three competing ideas of what needs to happen.
Wow.
And so this was like kind of a revolutionary thing that puts all three of those things together. And this isn't like an original thought that I just had. I'm not that smart. Someone else has said this in the past. But now that it's going back into this private investment model, it's kind of splitting back into at least two, where you have some of your investors might still be the people that are running the company, And some of your investors might still be the end users if you do part of a public sale. But if you're getting a chunk of change from private investment, those people might have different interests on which direction they want to see the company go in as compared to your end users.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Like if you're an ICO and you raise all this money, then you turn into a hedge fund, and then you go and you buy into a private sale. Mm-hmm. Going back to that, where you go, that's like, yeah.
Yeah, it's just interesting that, and that those things do connect though, because a lot of these companies that are raising all this money now, they're turning into private investors for other companies, and it's not like a public thing anymore.
Yeah.
And even now, it almost seems like it might be going back into like the network effect, where it's if you're in this network, in this inner circle, and these founders of these ICOs, we're all going to put our money together and make another ICO, and instead of it being a product that the community actually wants, that actually they see, either it's the white paper or some sort of MVP, and they go, oh my God, this is so good, that the retail investors actually pour in. You'd almost have more confidence in a project that has 1 million retail investors than something that has a ton of private money. Because at the end of the day, the guys with money, they just have money. Yeah. If you can get the community excited about something so much so that they put their own money into it, you've got a lot of momentum from day one.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I totally agree. I think that a little bit of the interesting idea that the ICOs is now being taken over. Like anything is taken over by the big players, right? They see the money that's being made through these ICOs, and now the retail investors being cut out. So we have to. Part of that reason is because there are a ton of ICOs that have been scams. If you didn't have that, you wouldn't have the SEC coming down as hard as they are and doing these regulations, cutting out. And so now all ICOs are excluding you. Not all, but some are excluding U.S. investors. Mm-hmm. And that's because you have this 20% of ICOs that are complete scams. And they're like, well, we have to shut it all down. Because of these 20%, and that's where you get the retail investor getting screwed. Because now we can't invest in ICOs, even if we wanted to. Yeah. So,
I think it might honestly be safer as a retail investor. Like, if you think about it from whoever's doing the ICO, their perspective, I think it's harder to stiff 1 million, actual people than this one guy who just gave you $1 million. Especially if it's in Ether or whatever, because if he's in Norway and I'm in the the Caribbean or whatever, I can just say, okay, well, I'm not talking to you ever again. Here's $1 million. I'm not giving you the project. But if there's 1 million people out there,
you're pissing off all your users.
So
definitely.
Would you rather fight 1 millionaire or 1 million one heirs?
1 million. I would rather fight 1 millionaire. He's probably a bitch.
Yeah, true.
Those one heirs are probably savages.
They are probably savages. Yeah. They spent their last. It was like, am I going to eat today or am I going to invest in this ICO?
Keyboard warriors.
All right.
Yep.
Are we on to our last topic? Or are we wrapping it up? What's going on with that?
Yeah, we can fly through this one. Let's. So basically, a article came out recently that said 56% of cryptocurrency startups were completely gone in 4 months after their ICO. So after their end date of ICO.
What percentage?
56%.
56%.
So this study was done by Boston College School of Management, and basically what happened was they looked at Twitter accounts, which is a genius way to kind of track ICOs and their viability after their ICO is closed. But I have a couple problems. One, there are ICOs that maybe switch accounts. I don't think that happens often. Mm-hmm. There is also ICOs that maybe switch social media. You know what? The more I talk about it, the more I actually believe in tracking Twitter, because why would they ever do any of those two things that I'm about to say?
Yeah, why would you switch your Twitter account?
Yeah. So I think it's a genius way to track the viability of ICOs.
Well, because how hard is it to update your Twitter once a week?
So exactly.
Did they have a certain time frame where they could look and see how long the Twitter's been inactive, with tweeting or
Yeah, I think it was just that I can look on. If you guys want to keep talking about this, I can figure out how long.
Mm-hmm. Because I know some of them, some of them just make the Twitters for the ICO, like, the crowd sale. And then, then when the project's actually implemented or, if it's operating, they don't really use the Twitter. But, that's definitely, like you said, I think that's a really good way to look at them, just generally speaking.
I think you probably need to look at the team members' Twitters as well to see if there's because maybe the team members tweeting all the time, but I know IOHK, I follow their Twitter, and Charles Hoskinson. Charles tweets everything that he does,
right?
But IOHK barely ever tweets except when it's they need to announce something,
right? And how often do they tweet when they're making announcements, though?
It is pretty frequent.
Yeah,
but
at least once a week, maybe once a month.
Yeah. And another thing could be when this study was being done, because if it was during the time where our Twitter was taken down, maybe
right.
Who knows when. Obviously, I don't think they would do this study and publish those results if that was during the time frame, but it's something that's interesting.
Another interesting thing that I'd be interested to know about as far as how active social media accounts are is the LinkedIn accounts of the founders, because I'm starting to grow real suspicious of some of these LinkedIn messages I get, or not even messages, but connection
requests.
Yeah, requests, because it seems like I think on average I probably get 10 a day. So after a week, I've got 70 requests in my inbox, and it just seems like there's got to be some service out there where if you're starting an ICO and I want to say I'm the founder of this ICO or I'm the CTO of this ICO, let me have a LinkedIn that looks legit. They'll just give you some minor background with some small hedge fund that doesn't exist or some tech company that doesn't exist. They'll say you worked there for 10 years, then you're the founder of this ICO all of a sudden, and you've got 500 plus connections.
Yeah. Well, you know what you do. And our good friend, he's looking at me right now, Henry, he showed us, because he was going on LinkedIn on the app. And what you do is you find the app, and then you go to your My Network, and you see this screen where it's the connection screen, and it recommends people to you. And then you just tap. He was showing us. He's
you just click select all and add them all at once.
Yeah, no. So you just go like this, and then you just hit tap, and it just if I would know how to work a phone, but basically you just tap, and it just keeps putting a new profile there, and you just tap 500 times, and you got 500 plus connections.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah. That's got to be what some of these people are doing. So I'd love to see what if there's an ICO that ended 3 months ago. I want to see the LinkedIn accounts of those founders now.
Yeah.
Because some of them they don't even work for companies that anyone's ever heard of. If you worked for IBM and you're starting a big computer-based ICO now, and you've been in IBM for 12 years and you've been, promoted, and there's, pictures of you at a conference or something, then I'm like, oh, holy shit, this guy's legit. Uh-huh. And it goes back to what I was saying, where people are actually putting their necks on the line. They're real people. But then there's these other people where, I don't know, I guess they got 500 connections. It must be legit.
Yeah, the main thing is also looking at endorsements. If your endorsements are, say you're looking at a company and the endorsements of your, skills, it's a really easy way to vet these. Because if the endorsements are just from their colleagues, you only got 5 to 7 to 10, and it's just from their colleagues, it's automatically a red flag. But if you have endorsements from 60 people, all over the place, it's kind of okay, wow, it takes a lot of effort, I guess, to get, because you can't just create a bot that endorse. You can, but I don't know. It's a lot more,
personable.
Yeah,
that's an interesting perspective that I never thought of. Because Q and I were talking about this yesterday, where I was saying if people had legit work experience at real companies, that's a big thing I would look for. But he was like, well, can't you just fake that? And I was like, yeah, I guess you could. Yeah. But if you have endorsements from people that also work for that company. Yeah. Unless they're creating a whole fake network of people.
What you can know for sure is that if there's a way to scam the system, that it's going to be scammed.
Right.
So there's going to be groups of people that endorse each other to make it look like. They're raising. They possibly raise $10 million.
Yeah.
They're going to figure out ways to have it so their endorsements look. I'm not saying that that's something that's happening now, but they're getting better and better at making it seem like it
definitely is happening.
Yeah. LinkedIn on the blockchain.
Yeah, there it is.
LinkedIn ICO.
Well, and a lot of times too, these aren't people that are they're not maliciously scamming. They're just trying to make themselves look better.
Yeah.
LinkedIn's not a huge service in every country.
Yeah.
LinkedIn was only very recently even popular in Europe. In Germany, they have other services for this. in Asia, they've got, a million different things. If you grew up in Thailand, what the hell is LinkedIn?
Yeah.
But, and then it's like, well, I don't want to have a shitty LinkedIn where I only have 5 connections and, a picture of me and no endorsements. So let me use a service just to make myself look better. So I'm not saying all these people are being malicious with how they do it, but you do have to be careful with, the way things look. The optics aren't always true.
So just to wrap up, what this study took was at 2,390 ICOs. So they took that, and they actually used several different data points. What they did was they looked to see if the ICO didn't report capital and didn't list on an exchange. So they took those 2 data points and they cross-referenced it with Twitter activity.
Okay.
So that's where you get the.
See, that's an interesting.
Yeah, that's more
it.
legit. You can't just take Twitter activity. What they did was they said, okay, we have 694 ICOs, and I'm reading it right off the page, that of the study didn't get listed on exchange after 120 days and didn't report capital after 120 days. And of those 694, 83% had no Twitter activity. So they are counting those as dead.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, yes.
I
would possibly say that is legitimate. So.
Not reporting capital would be the first thing that would really piss me off if I invested.
Exactly. Like we're going through like the backlist, and if there's no capital, we're supposed to, email or whatever. So I just sort of for fun, I don't even know if I was supposed to, but I emailed, like basically saying like, yo, like how much did you raise? And none of them got back to me.
That's interesting because to explain what you're doing.
So
when you say you're going through the backlist.
Right. So I'm going back through all the concluded ICOs that we've had on the site and going to their website and then going and looking for like how much they raised, like, like the team members and stuff like that, basic information. But if I can't find how much they raised, if it's not on the site, I would email them. And you would think, because they have like the contact us here thing, the little chat box that says, we're here to help you out. You'd think if they were legit, and you get an email, from some guy at ICO Alert saying, yo, like, how much did you raise? We just want to update some stuff. And you, just completely ghost them. Or you say, I got 1 email back out of all of them, and it just said, it's on the site.
How many?
Out of like 20, like, I don't know, I did this like not 100 times, but like 20-something times.
Okay. 20
Some
times.
guy talked shit to you yesterday. He was like, like ICO, they're trying to come in here and get info or something.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, they do that too. There's a bunch of crazy stuff.
Was it in Telegram that happened?
Telegram. Because I started going
some guy tried to get us to pay for our services, and he wanted to use his tokens. And we were like, no, like legally we can't accept your tokens. And he got furious. He was like, why would I pay for a service of a company that doesn't believe in my company? And I'm just like, God. Dude, chill out. Like it's just, you get crazies in this space, man.
Does it happen a lot? Do people always usually try to pay with tokens or they understand that?
No, not really. I would say 10%.
Yeah.
Maybe even less. But yeah.
They usually understand when you say it's a conflict of interest on our part because we can't have a direct interest in the success of your token.
Yeah, exactly.
So. Yeah, but it's interesting to see just what you guys are doing. We are going to wrap it up here, but I just for anyone that's still listening at this point, I think it's just interesting to know that there are people out there, and what we're doing with our interns is it's going to be particularly interesting when we publish some of the data that we're coming out with from what you guys are finding, which is how many of these ICOs from the past year aren't active anymore. Going back through that data, that's a lot of stuff to comb through. Mm-hmm. So, from me to you guys, we do appreciate the work you guys are doing. Yeah, man. And if there's anything you guys want to plug your Twitter or whatever, go.
Yeah, I'll put my
away.
Ethereum address. You guys, please just send whatever you want.
You just read it right off.
These are college kids. They need money.
Drew can't talk about his Twitter.
Drew Tomich.
Oh my God.
Oh, you don't want to see what he's been doing. My Twitter is C Alexander Free.
He had to look up. He had to go to Twitter to find his handle. That's not good.
That's true. Yeah.
I think
because I changed it before. It used to be some weird other
C
thing.
as in the letter C or SEE?
Yeah. Oh yeah, like C, so C as in like the third letter of the alphabet.
Yeah, C as in Charlie.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, boys. It's been a true pleasure on this episode of the ICO Alert Roundtable,
baby.
Yeah, good job. Thanks for listening, guys. As always, follow us on Twitter. Leave comments on YouTube. We'll always get back to those comments if you have any questions. So we appreciate you guys listening for this long. And we'll see you guys next time.
ICO Alert maintains the only trusted comprehensive list of pre-ICOs and initial coin offerings. This Pittsburgh-based startup has grown to serve over 1 million users in less than a year. But how did it get started? Well, at first, the company was just an online tool for two brothers, Mike and Rob Finch, to keep a calendar of their favorite ICOs. After just a few months, the team has grown to over 14 team members and produced hundreds of ICO reports. These in-depth reports feature exclusive interviews and offer insight into past, active, and future ICOs. Head on over to ICOalert.com, meet the team, and use their game-changing My Portfolio function. Track your favorite blockchain projects. Become your own venture capitalist. Only at ICOalert.com.